I'm Matt.
I'm Shane.
And if you like what you hear, make sure you hit that thumbs up button real hard, and make sure you subscribe to Comic Movie Marks.
And also click that little bell for all of the notifications.
Whee!
Always remember,
if Trailer Trash can do it,
anyone can do it.
Hello and welcome everyone to another Comic Movie Marks video.
Oh yeah, today we are talking about Mr. Henry Cavill, Superman himself, or is he still Superman? His latest comments on his Witcher media run, as well as some new SnyderCut revelations that have come out recently.
So let's go back in the Wayback Machine and let's start from the beginning. Not the beginning of time. We're not that good. We're good, but we're not that good. But we're going to go back to the Men's Health article that came out in about mid-November. We were going to do a video on, but again, procrastination is the key, ladies and gentlemen.
So this is from the latest issue from Men's Health, and
maybe not the latest. We are behind.
Oh yeah, from a recent issue of Men's Health. And this is a little snippet from menshealth.com. There's a nice little plug for them. This was an interview in regards to Superman. He says, "I'm not just going to sit quietly in the dark as all this stuff is going on. I've not given up the role. There's a lot I have to give for Superman yet, a lot of storytelling to do, a lot of real true depths to the honesty of the character I want to get into. I want to reflect the comic books. That's important to me. There's a lot of justice to be done for Superman. The status is, you'll see."
It's been 84 years.
Basically implying he's negotiating. And we've been hearing about this off and on for a while. Is he still Superman? The negotiations continue on. Back in September of 2018, his agent, Danny Garcia, put out a tweet back then saying, "Be peaceful, the cape is still in his closet. WB Pictures has been and continues to be our partners as they evolve the DC universe. Anticipate a WB statement later today." And their statement was just basically saying nothing. But it seems clear that he is back in negotiations. There has been a lot of people talking about that on Twitter, that he is in negotiations right now to play Superman in some way. Then you come to the comments that he's made recently on his Witcher media tour. This is where it ruffles some people's feathers.
Man of Steel is an absolute masterpiece that I've seen 35 million times.
You and me both, man.
I think you are genuinely the greatest Superman to ever live, and I want you to continue playing the character.
Thank you very much.
I just wanted to know your thoughts real fast, if you had any. I know you're waiting for this question all day, but what are your thoughts on people being so vocal about the Snyder Cut, and is it something that you have seen, or would you want to see it?
I have not seen any Snyder Cut. I don't know if there's anything that exists that is a Snyder Cut. I'm sure there's footage out there which has probably been pieced together over the years. I'm always interested to see how that stuff turns out, but that is very much a chapter in my past. I would rather talk about what is going to happen in the future, the future of Superman, how I can express that character from the comic books, which ties in nicely to Man of Steel. Man of Steel, I really like that movie, and I'd like to be able to tell the story where it was left at that point.
Will we get that?
I can tell you nothing.
Oh my gosh, that'd be so awesome if that happens.
It would indeed be.
Fair enough. Really quick as we wrap up, November 17th was the 2-year anniversary of Justice League. A lot of members, a lot of your co-stars were tweeting out about release the Snyder Cut. People noticed that you were silent that day.
Right.
Was there a particular reason why you did not say anything on November 17th?
I wouldn't say there's any particular reason. I miss my moustache, which is the most important thing. And for me, it was just a harrowing reminder that I didn't have it anymore. And so I just didn't want to dig that wound any deeper.
He said no.
He said no.
So as you saw in the clip, Henry Cavill talks about why he was silent on November 17th when the rest of the cast was showing their strong support all over social media, and Henry Cavill was silent and he elected to stay out of it. You can tell he's trying to just sit on the fence. He completely took it into the realm of, well, I miss my mustache and that's just a sad reminder that I don't have it anymore. You can tell Jake Hamilton even decided to just change the subject and go, okay, basically on to the next thing. You can tell that Henry Cavill didn't really want to answer the question in full honesty, lending us to think there's obviously more going on, that he's probably still in contract negotiations or whatever it is with Warner Brothers.
Well, that confirms a couple of things that we've been hearing about the loyalty spectrum that there is from the cast and crew to Snyder himself. Mara Robles tweeted out a list of the loyal to the least loyal to Snyder, and Cavill was at the very bottom, Affleck being at the very top with Momoa. And Fisher kind of lends to that credence. There's also other ones like Grace Randolph and Jason LeBoy have also said that they've heard the same thing about Cavill, that necessarily his loyalty towards Snyder isn't as strong as the others. Which honestly is what we kind of expect in Hollywood for the most part. I mean, that's what makes like Momoa and Fisher so unique in this situation, is because these are guys that are really putting their necks out there in some sense for Snyder, for his vision after the studio completely destroyed everything that he was trying to do. But yet these few people still keep fighting for him, just like Jay Oliva, Clay Anos. It actually made it really unique to see such loyalty in Hollywood. That was also what kind of made the James Gunn situation a while back very unique as well, when you had those cast members like Dave Bautista and Chris Pratt standing up to Disney, and that's what made those situations very unique. Now Cavill, his loyalty, what's it is on the spectrum, is up to interpretation. He could still be friends with Snyder, he could still respect Snyder, but at the same time he understands that WB destroyed his vision for a reason, because WB didn't like the way Superman and the other characters were going. To protect his spot as Superman, he's gonna side with the studio for the most part, and he's gonna push that agenda along, and that's what his agent Danny Garcia at $7 Production is telling him. It's obviously very staged, and he was definitely tested on this. They definitely went through some rhythms. They knew he was gonna get questions like this. This was definitely planned out by him on his answers, because they feel to be on the side of the studio for this is how he's gonna get future Superman projects. If you're trying to compare Henry Cavill to Ray Fisher and Jason Momoa on the loyalty scale, they're just not going to be comparable whatsoever.
Ray Fisher tweeted earlier today, December 6th, Fisher Fun Fact Friday, I'll do it again in a heartbeat. And this was in response to Haroon214 saying, Ray Fisher risked his career for Zack. Hashtag never forget. Hashtag release the Snyder Cut.
And you have someone like Momoa saying that he owes everything to Zack Snyder. And it doesn't mean that Cavill hates Snyder. It doesn't mean Cavill is disrespecting Snyder in any way. It's just how he feels about the character. And maybe he wants to shift the character in a different direction. And the guy wants to play Superman. And to play Superman right now, he's got to play ball with the studio. And right now the studio is fighting tooth and nail with Snyder about his cut. Whether there's been a deal going on or a deal done, I don't know. If they still think the studio wants a different version than Snyder, and that's what apparently Cavill thinks, then it seems like to me there's no deal quite done yet. They're still working on that idea. And kind of what I've been seeing with some of these articles lately, it feels like there's almost a war going on within WB. When you see that Variety article, it reads a lot like that Wall Street Journal article, and it seems like it's a setup by some people in WB, Emmerich. And then you look at the one like the Forbes article from Mark Hughes, which is very pro Snyder, which could be anybody else inside WB. The other executives that want the Snyder Cut released on HBO Max, they see the potential. And then Emmerich's being that stubborn jackass in the corner. It's an epic chess battle that we're seeing Snyder winning, and it's turning people around more and more every day. We're seeing more and more people responding to it. We've had Edgar Wright talk about it. Josh Trank recently talking about it, and also a funny note, Josh Trank disowning Fantastic Four.
Shit.
The director is actually, at least in the public eye, is beating the studio. Could the director win? Could in Hollywood, the director actually beat the studio and get a cut of a movie that they have tried their hardest to bury as deep as possible? Could it actually happen? What a historical moment it will be when that movie is released.
Yo! Party at Cindy's house! Drunk white women for everybody!
So some of the things with WB is some of the rumors that have come out is they are unsure of what to do with Superman, which could somewhat be the case. That could also just be part of their ploy to basically say, oh yeah, we're still trying to figure out what to do with him.
Again, using the trades against somebody. Just like
Yep.
a lot of people suspect Cavill used the trades against WB in 2018 when he said he wasn't going to play Superman. A lot of people feel that was leaked out by Danny Garcia to put pressure on WB, so everybody would have this uprising on social media like, what? Henry Cavill's out as Superman? I mean, that was heavily speculated that they put that out. That's why they had such a quick response to it with the cape. And now WB, all of a sudden now this thing comes out in Variety. We don't know what we're doing with Superman. And it's like, it seems like an immediate jab right back at Cavill. I seriously feel like it's mind games, all right? They're playing with the soul.
Thank you, Madness. A lot of this is stuff that is not only exclusive to Hollywood. You see it a lot in sports as well. And just like with Antonio Brown that happened this year, where he leaves the Pittsburgh Steelers and then ends up on the Raiders and then starts complaining about his helmet, and really ultimately he didn't want to be on the Raiders, so then
nobody wants to be on the Raiders.
So then he gets cut from them and ends up on the Patriots, where ultimately that's where he wanted to be. It's been rumored for a really long time. So this is not something that is only exclusive to Hollywood. There's a lot of games that are going on in the background, and some of the things, admittedly, with a lot of these clips that came out, I was disappointed and have been disappointed in Henry Cavill. I want to see him be like Ray Fisher, like Jason Momoa, even as Matt mentioned earlier, like Dave Bautista, and really show his support. Because if you think about it, Henry Cavill was kind of floating around. He was getting turned down for these different roles like James Bond, Superman once before. If you look at Immortals and some of the other movies that he was doing, Man of Steel and casting him as Superman is what elevated him to that next level. And yes, you could argue that, well, he was going to get there regardless, but that is ultimately what got him to the next level. And he signed on with $7 Productions and Danny Garcia shortly after Batman vs. Superman. And I think Henry Cavill wants the same success as The Rock. Everything that The Rock does, Dwayne Johnson, everything that Dwayne Johnson does,
Dwayne.
it seems to turn to gold. I think that's what Henry Cavill wants, and unfortunately,
I don't know. Have you seen the preview for that new Jumanji?
Looks fantastic. $1 billion guaranteed.
Yes.
Unfortunately, you have to play the game, and there were some things when I rewatched the clips. They started making me feel a little bit more positive in terms of what Henry Cavill wants to do with Superman. He obviously loves the character. He obviously wants to bring some relevance back to the character itself. And he talks about wanting to go back to where Man of Steel left off, with essentially breaking his rule of, breaking Zod's neck and killing someone. And where does he go from there? In an article from ET Online, he spoke with Lauren Zima, and he said, I like to delve more into the aspect of Superman that we traditionally know, coupled with where we left him with Man of Steel. It's a hero who is trying to exist in a world where people may say he's not relevant anymore, where actually he's extraordinarily relevant. And it's him coming to terms with that and becoming the relevance and showing people that hope does exist without it being too chocolate box. To me, that's him writing that middle line, similar to what Wonder Woman did. It could be the fun, family-friendly type movie, but also have some deeper tones to it. I get it. I understand where he's sitting right now and the politics that unfortunately he has to play.
When it came to BVS, I mean, he spoke out about that in that Men's Health article, saying BVS was very much a Batman movie. Also talking about The Realm of Darkness is great for a Batman movie. Justice League, on the other hand, simply didn't work. We heard about that. Kevin Sujihara saying less Superman, more Batman in BVS, and they cut out a lot of Clark scenes. It seems more like he wants to be on that solo act and have a trilogy, a set trilogy like the Dark Knight trilogy, but he wants the Man of Steel trilogy. It kind of seems like that's more of what his taste is when it comes to Superman. Whether that's good or bad to you, that's up to you.
After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
But one of the things that did come out of this is when he talked about the Snyder Cut. His actual quote was saying, I don't know if there is anything that exists that is a Snyder Cut. But then the very next day, Zack Snyder posts this picture saying, is it real? Does it exist? Of course it does. And it's showing the canisters, the Goldberg canisters, with Zack Snyder's Justice League Director's Cut runtime, 214 minutes. Shane and I were just talking about this before we recorded, and I thought it was a very clear response to that particular quote. That's just how I saw it. Shane does disagree with me for the most part.
I feel that it is more a general response to just people debating if it exists or not and what the level of completion and things like that. Kind of similar to the turkey leg that we've had previously, just kind of a trolling response. I wasn't even sure that this was the actual footage, to be honest. I just thought it was him kind of being funny. When you look at the label, if I were to use a little label maker or Photoshop or Microsoft Word or something and come up with a label, this is probably what it would say. Zack Snyder, Justice League, Director's Cut, Runtime 214. He might as well have put hashtag release the Snyder Cut on it. That's just what it seemed like to me, and I just think it was a generic response to everyone saying yes, it exists.
Snyder has clearly put himself on the front lines. He is leading this charge more than ever, and he's taken it upon himself to answer as much of these criticisms or these speculations about the cut as much as possible. He's even come to Twitter when he's pretty much for the most part abandoned Twitter. The canisters, again, like Shane said, I did think it was a little on the nose. And for speculation whether or not it's a recent picture from what we've been seeing, I think Jason LeBoy, who's been fairly credible on some of this stuff, he says it was actually taken much earlier in around 2018. And then I did see a tweet from Fiona saying that Zack Snyder has actually told her that he has no physical copy with him. So this wasn't like in his house. The label does seem very trolly when you look at it. It does seem like it's somebody from WB just walking by and they just have to look at this canister with clear as day. Justice League, Director's Cut, Runtime 214 minutes, you assholes. You cut so much of my footage. It does feel like a troll label.
Why? Because fuck them, that's why.
And then with all the speculation about the 214 going on, one of the prevailing themes was that if it's 214 minutes, it's gotta be an assembly cut that's too long to be an actual theatrical cut.
So Scott Mendelson says this is almost certainly an assembly cut, which is always excessively long because that's what an assembly cut is. Zack Snyder then replies, at Scott Mendelson, the assembly cut was nearly 5 hours long.
No, no, wasn't ready.
And this is where you start seeing some of the cracks happening in media, in the people that are just watching this escalate throughout the last couple years. You have someone like Paul Shuri saying, I seriously love that Zack is speaking out about this. Even Andy Signor put out a tweet saying, baller move, Zack Snyder. I'm sorry if I ever doubted you or overly criticized you. We don't always have to agree, but watching you stand your own creative ground is inspiring. Hashtag release the Snyder Cut. You can see now the system is starting to break and it's fantastic to watch. And release the Snyder Cut has become its own thing. It's almost like the Ayn Rand thing of who is John Gold. It means more than just what it's saying. But to cap it all off, to make it so fucking awesome, Subway, the official sponsor of the Release the Snyder Cut. I can't really say that for sure, but we've seen a lot of sponsor ads out there recently, Variety and Marvel. Now we got real sponsors, grassroots sponsors on the Bat Force Instagram page. They shared a screenshot of Zack Snyder telling Scott Mendelson that his assembly cut was 5 hours. One of the comments just happened to be the official Subway Instagram page saying, we want all of it too. Hashtag release the Snyder Cut. Well, I saw that, thought it was completely hilarious, and made a little tweet saying, we've hit it big, guys, footlongs for everyone when the Snyder Cut is released.
Nice to see you, Jared. I'll take a footlong.
Fully loaded.
So that had a pretty good surge there. We got a decent amount of likes. People were doing it. Then one of the comments on our tweet by BR or Brie May simply put, your move, Schlotzky's, which I'm an unfamiliar brand for us over here on the West Coast. I was looking up Porter Subs, which is our local one. They have 400 followers. Like they have nothing else and they have a terrible looking picture. So
yep, that's Reno for you.
Schlotzky's actually responded saying, I'm with Subway on this one. Hashtag release the Snyder Cut. We retweeted it and it just started this huge thing of all these different restaurants piping in hashtag release the Snyder Cut. The Release the Snyder Cut page made a deal with Subway about donating sandwiches for retweets.
Yes, it was fantastic. In response to Ben Affleck's tweet regarding Giving Tuesday from earlier this week, Release the Snyder Cut said, "Hey, at Subway, how many retweets for 10,000 sandwiches for hungry families during the holiday period?" And one tweet with hashtag Release the Snyder Cut. Well, their glorious response first was 5,000 retweets in 5 hours. Then shortly thereafter, "So you're fast. And since you did it under 214 minutes, we are going to up the donation to 15,000 subs. And oh yeah, hashtag release the Snyder Cut." I applaud you, whoever is running the Subway social media. I applaud you, friend.
What up? Freeze frame high five.
So you are fast, the flash line, and the 214. Wow, that is a professional social media person right there. I don't know what the hell those are called, but they know their stuff for sure. I don't know if they are actually a Snyder Cut aficionado, but they definitely got the language down, and it's awesome. And it just erupted. Our mentions have gone through the roof. What an impact. Just what a awesome day that food can bring everybody together. I believe I saw one tweet where they said the Snyder Cut will solve world peace at this point, and I think it's about to happen. I think we're going to get it. You know, release the Snyder Cut over there in Korea and Russia. You know.
That's all we need.
In case I don't see you.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Whoo!
The Snyder Cut of Justice League.
I didn't watch it.
You didn't watch it?
No,
but
nobody did.
Yeah, do you believe it's gonna be released in the movies or in streaming?
I don't know. I think that the movie suffered from very unfortunate and sad, circumstances. I would have loved to see the finished cut of Zach, and I hope that one day we'll get to see it, but I don't know.
This is something terrible and decides to use his money instead to make a difference and sort of bypass all the government sort of nonsense that you would usually have to go through to take out a dictator. So he recruits these 5 other people. Each of them have a very specialized skill set. And they form this team in kind of a reluctant family, which I guess what I'm trying to say is this is the Snyder Cut.
Is there anything else?
I think that was it.
Ooh, that was a lot. Oh yeah, that's a lot. Oh, that's a lot of cutting.
Holy shit. I didn't even realize we've been talking for that long.